And on today's show, the power of COLA and spousal benefit. Part 3 of this week's series on the strategies to maximize Social Security benefits with Social Security strategist and expert, Brian Doherty. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician and Innsmouth. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to the show, Brian.
Thanks, Steve.
Day
Pleasure
3.
Yeah.
Hey, you doing all right?
Yeah.
Well, if you missed any of these shows Monday and Tuesday, I really recommend that you watch them in succession. I think your learning experience, your tutorial experience will be a lot better. I'm looking at today, we're talking about COLA. Now, when I think of COLA, Steve's into annuities a lot, so I tend to think in the terms of who's paying out the best COLA. Some of them, think about it, some of these annuities are anywhere from 3 to, there's some out there that are 5, even 6% out there.
Yes.
Of course, you have to be careful. There's a lot of caveats to that.
Yes.
But Social Security, how many times does the government award COLA? Is it every year? Is it automatic? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Well, they first started doing it in 1975. And from 1975 until 2014, there were only 2 years where there was no COLA. Basically, the government said there was zero inflation. That just happened recently. And that got a lot of press, and that got a lot of people angry because anybody that had been collecting Social Security had gotten used to their Social Security check going up a little bit every year. And those 2 years that it didn't happen, boy, there were some upset people because COLA didn't increase. I
noticed the definition of what the government calls inflation and what we have to live on in the real world is two different things.
That's an argument that especially people that are retired make because some of their expenses are not included in that index they use to determine COLA.
Well, I want to go to this chart that you've created, Brian, and I want to talk about this because COLA is really important, especially when you're thinking about a couple years ago, that was a major problem. Well, Brian, walk me through this slide with COLA. I really enjoy this because it really maps it out for you and it actually sees the numerical values.
Yeah, I like this slide too. And what it does is it shows the difference between claiming at age 62 and claiming at age 70. Now, you can claim any age in between those two, but 62 is as early as you can claim. And here I assume they're going to have a monthly benefit of $1,125 if they do that. If they wait until age 70, the benefit grows to $1,980. It's 76% bigger than this. Now, you see the difference starts off at $855, Steve. Now over here, I assumed a 3% annual COLA over a 20-year period of time. That $1,125, that check grows to $2,031, where the $1,980 grows to $3,576. Now both of them grew at exactly the same percentage. It was 80% over this 20-year period of time, right? But now the difference in the size of the checks has grown to $1,545 because you were applying that same percentage, 3% every year, to a bigger number. It results in bigger dollar increases every year, and the difference between the size of the two checks grows bigger over time. And if they live for 25 or 30 years, Steve, this difference is going to get even bigger in dollar terms.
Now, we talked about this in an earlier show this week about looking at COLA because people are saying, well, I did the math, my break-even's at 78,
yes,
but they didn't apply COLA to it, which would have brought the number way down, especially if you use 3%. So I think we really need to look and map out our strategy based on COLA, based on what we think we're going to be more than half of America. We might be on the other side of that bell curve that we talked about yesterday. So it's really important to map this out and look at it. To me, it's like, wow, is 7 years or 8 years worth it? And it sure looks like it is.
It is, and I call this the only pay raise that most people are going to automatically get in their retirement. And if it's the only pay raise they're going to automatically get, don't you want it to be as big as possible? So in order to do that, you need to get this number, your monthly check, as big as possible. That happens if you delay claiming until age 70. And if you do that, you'll be happy that you did.
Now, did I understand you right when you said that they started doing inflation in 1975?
Automatically,
Automatically.
Yes.
But then there were 2 years when they didn't do it, which was somewhat recent.
Yes.
But every other year they did.
Yes.
So this is kind of a compounded effect, except for the 2 years, the exceptions of the 2 years.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking people who have been taking Social Security from 1975, and if they're still alive today, I mean, that's a chunk of change.
It's a chunk of change, and one of the things people talk about hasn't been that great lately. It's 1.5% in 2014. It was 1.7%, big deal. But Steve, if you go back to the 70s when we had very high rates of inflation, in 1980, the COLA adjustment was over 14% just for 1 year.
For 1 year?
1 year.
Wow.
And in 1981, it was over 11%. So if we go back to higher rates of inflation, which some economists are predicting,
True.
You're going to be real happy if you maximize the benefit of COLA.
When we come back from the break, we're going to shift a little gear here and go to the spousal benefit, married couple's secret weapon. This is where you're going to see some of the real magic of understanding all the options you have for Social Security. We'll be right back after the break. It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Welcome back to our second segment. Of course, I'm with Social Security strategist and expert, Brian Doherty. Brian, we're talking about spousal benefit, and this is I hate to say this, the first time I heard this, I was like, I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I had to go through two other people, advisors that actually were really decent in Social Security, explain the spousal benefit, because to me, this is really where the numbers get powerful.
They get very powerful. In fact, Steve, this is another instance where I say Social Security jumps through hoops and bends over backwards to give people every opportunity to maximize their benefits, and very few people do. But with a spousal benefit, say a husband and wife, one of the spouses is entitled to receive 50% of the other spouse's benefit. Even if they didn't really work and have a very small benefit themselves, it doesn't matter. They can still get up to 50% of their other spouse's benefit.
Okay, can I make sure I'm hearing you straight? Okay, so Steve Savant is going to try to do what Brian says. I'm trying to wait till 70, okay? Yep. But my wife, I will still, if I wait till 70, I'll get my full 132% return.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to have COLA on that number. We talked about that in the first segment. Now, half of that number that I'm getting at 70, I get an additional half of that because my wife gets a spousal benefit.
Your wife gets a spousal benefit, but that number is going to be based on your benefit at age 60, whatever your full retirement age is, okay? She'll get half of that benefit.
Not the 70 age.
Not the 70.
Just the 66.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right.
It's still a huge benefit, though.
Yeah.
And I call that the conventional way to claim a spousal benefit. And it's a huge benefit to a lot of married couples, especially if one of the spouses doesn't have much of a work history or didn't work at all. I think it's incredible. And the fact that that spouse gets 50%, it doesn't impact, in your case, your benefit at all. You still get your full benefit, just that your wife can get up to half of your benefit on top of that.
Can you explain to me, because I love this idea, because I think people are going to watch this and say, Steve, I did not know that existed.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden my retirement might look a little bit brighter.
Yes.
But talk to me about, in my case, I'm just going to say, Steve's going to wait till 70. My wife is 1 year younger than I am. So by the time we get there, 70 and 70, but what about the in-between time between age 66 and age 70? Talk a little bit about some of that.
Well, in a later show, we're going to go over the actual strategies themselves and how they work. What I call the spousal benefit, a married couple's and actually a divorced spouse's secret weapon, because it's the way that they can get paid to wait. Even though they're waiting till age 70, like you want to do, you can still receive some income from Social Security while you wait. Now, we talked about the conventional way to claim a spousal benefit, right? Whoever has the lower benefit gets up to 50% of the higher spouse's benefit. The unconventional way, which hardly anybody knows about and hardly anybody does, is for the spouse with the bigger benefit to actually claim a spousal benefit. And if they wait until their full retirement age, which right now is age 66, they can tell Social Security, I want to restrict my benefit to only a spousal benefit. And by doing that, they're entitled to get 50% of the other spouse's benefit, right? So if you have the bigger benefit, why would you want to do that? Because if you claim a spousal benefit, that means it's going to be a lot lower than your regular work history benefit, right? Well, you only do that for a short period of time, from 66 to 70. That generates income for you, and the whole time you're receiving the spousal benefit, you're still delaying your own benefit, and it grows by 8% for every year that you delay.
Now, if your spouse didn't work, is that a problem because you're going to be claiming hers? Does that work or no?
There it doesn't work. There's a couple of strategies. The one strategy that I like, which I'll talk to you about, it makes sense if the other spouse has a decent amount of Social Security income and their benefit is a decent amount. Another strategy will work better if the other spouse's benefit is much smaller. But there's still things that you can do by taking advantage of the spousal benefit. It's really the secret weapon in maximizing your Social Security income.
So actually now we try to tell people, yes, you should wait till you're 70. We're trying to maximize the spousal benefit at age 70 as well. Now we're talking about, well, I need to have a little bit of income between age 66 and 70, which is what you're alluding to now.
Yes.
So that could be half of the age 66 number for at least those 4 years.
Exactly.
And how many people take advantage of this?
Hardly anybody, although it's starting to get a little more notoriety now, but still I don't see a lot of people taking advantage of it. And that's something I hope to do, to go out and tell the world that they can do this. So a lot of people, when I say I recommend that they should delay until age 70, of course, are like, well, I'm not going to wait that long. I'm not waiting that long before I get some income from Social Security. Then I say, well, you don't have to. Let me show you how you can use a spousal benefit, your secret weapon, to generate income while you're waiting.
To me, this is a powerful option. It's money left on the table. It's totally legitimate to access it.
Yes.
And these are strategies that'll get you from 66 to 70 while we're trying to do the right thing, trying to maximize our actual benefit. And this is a great tactic which nobody uses. And we're talking about 48 months of income that could make an impact, make the difference.
Make a huge difference. And Steve, it doesn't matter who I show this to, people that haven't saved any money for retirement, or I've sat down with multimillionaires and I show them this, and some of the responses I get, they're dumbfounded that they can do this. And they have no idea that you can do it. Even the people that are very good with money and have a lot of it, they have no idea that you can do this stuff either.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. Missed an episode? Just hop out to our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you tomorrow.